Hello everyone, Don here again with the next update on the War Corsair project. Didn't get a lot done this week, but what I did do took some time. I remember last week I was working on the gear doors and such, and the scissor assemblies were a problem. So what I had to do is design a new set of scissors. So that's kind of what I've done this week. I also had to cut some parts from my flow bench out of some plastic material, so I ended up cutting that stuff up too. But this is what I ended up doing. Here's the old one, just a solid chunk of 5/8 that I basically cut out by hand with just hacksaws and such. And drilled some big holes in it to lighten them up. And this is what I've got done with my CNC here. The sides I took and just polished them with a round wheel. I guess it's not on there no more. Just a sanding drum to get rid of the parting seam. It looked like a parting seam, but that's the pockets, top and bottom. Now this link here, you can see it, these are twisted and these are straight. So this goes on the upper strut, this goes on the lower strut, and what it does is it cocks that lower strut out just a little bit. This will fold up like so. So it goes on the aircraft just like that. That's the left side. The right side I already installed it, but that's how they turned out. So, and the bolt's got to be in the right way, and then this center line is offset. So it's no longer directly in center with the assembly. I moved it offset because once it folds up, this bolt points up, and this is higher up in the wing now, so the gear door will not hit this corner anymore, like this one did. And it would have been like this. Let's see. Trying to see where I'm looking at. Yeah, like that. It was hitting here. Okay. One of the viewers mentioned, I told him I needed some rubber for the wing pockets for the gear to poke up through. And he suggested a hardware store sold some material. So I went to my local hardware store, and sure enough, they had this stuff. It's a little heavier than I'd like. It is a rubbery. It's got some resistance to it, but they were $2 a piece. And then I went to a local automotive upholstery shop and got a piece of scrap leather. Again, that's for the top of the front plate I put on to cover the hole. So it's just big enough to get 2 chunks out of that. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and show you what I got done. I did manage to put this set on. It is miserable today. It's finally starting to catch up with the humidity out here. Alright, this is what we got. Now what that does is gives me a little bit of toe out. That's looking straight at the aircraft, and it's only 1 degree. That's all it needs for the length of this aircraft. I'm trying to get it so you guys can see this a little better. I don't have the door open because it's even more miserable outside. But again, this is the one that's got the 1 degree build into it, the lower section, and it's on like this, so it pushes this tire. This is the right side, so it pushes this tire outwards. And again, this gear rotates, as you remember, wheel rotates and turns back. So this is what was hitting on the other ones. Now this is tucked over. The center line, I think, of this link is either the side or the center of this link is center now, whereas before the center was between the 2 links. But I moved it over like 3/8 of an inch, remember, because I had a 1/4 inch, at least a 1/4 inch of washers in there, which had to push this one out this way. This one stays, it's straight no matter what, because it's affixed to the top of the gear. But this is the one that had to move, so when I shimmed it out to get my 1 degree, I had, a 1/4 inch of shim in there. So now this thing is over at minimum 3/8 of an inch to 1/2 inch out of center now. So it's off center with the center of the strut. So that should take care of this problem. The other side, I'll put that on later. I'm about tired for the night. Oh, and then I mentioned that piece of leather will be attached right across here and right across the bottom of the wing. So when this folds back, it opens up, you know, like a 4-inch gap. Basically, where this landing gear is, this all opens, so that piece of leather will cover that whole assembly. I was hoping to get more done this week. Again, that rubber is for to take these out. But it's been a hot, miserable week. You know, I'm sure everyone notices it across the whole country. Looks like the lens is starting to fog up a little on my camera. So, but that's what I got done. I worked on that a little bit yesterday. I had a picnic to go to, a flying picnic at the local EAA chapter. So I was gone for several hours for that. Then I came home and started cutting them out. I cut them out, and the first attempt at cutting them, luckily it cut them oversized. But I had made a jig, or what I did is the material, since it was that bar stock, I drilled a hole top and bottom in each bar stock, and then I pre-drilled a piece of plywood to match. Actually, you can't tell because it didn't go into the wood. But what I ended up doing was, it was pinned centers, so it would cut all 4 of them out on one side. You take this one off, flip it on these pins, this one off, flip it on that pin, and then cut the other side, you know, to do all the pocketing. I only cut halfway down at a time. And then when it was doing the third one on the second set, it broke a bit, and I had to stop it. So then I had to put a new bit in it, and then reset the program and continue cutting, and it cut fine. But then when I flipped it over, when the bit broke, it must have lost a couple of steps on the stepper motor because it ended up cutting offset to the left. So when these got flipped over and it cut off, the left side, there was a step on both sides because it was shifted. If you looked at it up on edge, you could see, if you looked at it from this way, it had a step in it. So it was no good. But luckily, because of the way I cut it out with like a profile cut, it ended up being oversized. So I was able to make this jig. First I cut these pockets for. These are actually supposed to be over here. I've cut the pockets out and I fitted this to it into the pockets. Fitted them in there and got it fitted real good, and then I pounded it in, and then I rerun the program around the profile and came in and ended up taking like 95% of the step out. So I was able to save it. And now I also had it cut 20 thousandths undersized. So this is supposed to be 2.5 inches. So it's 2-inch 480 thousandths. So it's 20 thousandths under, which is nothing. It's no big deal. This fit really good on the strut over there. It hardly has any play in it. So it survived. But I thought I sure as shit lost $37 worth of aluminum on that mistake. But luckily it cut it too big initially, and then because what I usually do is I come in and I cut it like this. Oops, sorry. I cut it with the profile here, where if you see a lot of CNC milling, they'll actually come in and cut around until they get to the part. They kind of do a outside inward pocket command till they get to the part and then cut down around it. I just come in and it profile cuts around the piece, and then what you're left with are chunks of aluminum. It looks something like, I just seen one sitting out here somewhere. Bear with me. Where did I lose it? Made a nice mess in here today. There it is. So that's kind of how I cut them out. And by doing that, I think it tends to make the bit walk a little more, and it won't go in all the way and cut correctly, because you're doing a whole 100% of the width of the end mill cut. But when I come in afterwards and do a profile, then you're only shaving the edges. So that cleaned it up and made them nice and true. But, if I try the other way of cutting around, it's really going to increase the cut time, because that's a lot of material to remove around the part. So I can only get a 5/16 inch bit in there, and right now I can't find a straight shank 5/16 that isn't stepped down from a 3/8 shank. So that's where I'm at. All right, I'm going to go ahead and cut her off here. Been a miserable week. It's a little better inside than outside, but I think the humidity is starting to catch up in here. So that's going to be it for this week, folks, for the update. Appreciate you taking time to watch the videos as always, and feel free to leave any comments, questions, or concerns as they come along, and I'll answer them as they come through. So again, hopefully next week. Oh, and I got the stencils cut out, the vinyl stickers for like the number 86 there. I got them cut out in black, small enough to fit on there. I was going to grab them and show them to you, but I just got to pull them off, clean them, prep them, prime them, paint them, and then slap the stickers on and make the straps for the lower side of the thing. Down around the bottom, goes around the bottom of the strut. I got to just cut those out. They'll just be 1/2 inch thick pieces of that material and some felt. Popper it on there. And I did buy some countersink screws to put in place of the bolts. So I'll countersink all that stuff and dimple it like I did the windshield frames and canopy frames. So next week, hopefully you'll see that done, gear done, and you'll get a demonstration. I got to order probably some bolts so I can pin those connections. They're not pinnable, the AN bolts. All right, folks, that's it for this week. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next weekend. This is Dino Don out.